Hello everyone, today is 29th of January. My name is Sahil and welcome to the newspaper analysis. Guys, first of all, let's have a look on today's GS folder. So today we will be taking a quote from Salman Rushdie, the writer of the Satanic Verses. Guys, Salman Rushdie says, an attack upon our ability to tell stories is not just a censorship, it is a crime against our nature as human beings. Now, guys, this particular quote becomes relevant into the recent attack onto the freedom of speech and expression. For example, guys, recently the Bihar police has issued an order under which it has been said that anybody writing anything about the government officials, public servants, it will be liable to severe punishments. At the same time, guys, there have been another spate of rising complaints against the media creators, creative artists, that their representation of the facts had hurt the religious sensitivities or the cultural sensitivities. Now, guys, this particular thing has to be made very clear that from where the fine line is going on, which is dividing the freedom of speech and expression on one hand, and on other hand, that what is the gross defamation or gross condemnation of the other person's sensitivities. Otherwise, this entire trend which is going on will become detrimental to the fundamental human freedom. So, guys, that is all about this particular quote. You can utilize it in the answers related to the GS paper number 2 as well as into the papers related to the essay. So, guys, that is all. And now we will be taking up the newspaper analysis. Now, guys, taking up the first article. So, this particular article has been taken from the Business Standard newspaper, and it is talking about the India's recent decision to turn from man to machines for the data harvest. Now, guys, talking about some of the background into this particular direction. Now, when we talk about, guys, any kind of policy, any kind of a decision, it needs to based onto the adequate data so that we can make it more people centered. Now, guys, when we talk about the quality of data being collected by the Indian statisticians as well as at the speed at which the data is being collected, it has been called as inadequate, delayed, and often the data is very much confusing. Now, this particular thing, guys, was exposed during the time of recent lockdown. Now, when we are talking about the crucial data, it is collected by the field survey officers who visit the households and take the data manually. Now, guys, as the COVID-19 lockdown was imposed, these field surveys got suspended, and therefore a kind of a data gap emerged. And because of this particular data gap, many crucial numbers such as the retail inflation, etc., were not reported for a long time. However, guys, eventually by the way of telephonic surveys, etc., this data was collected. But this particular thing has exposed the vulnerabilities of India's data collection regime. Now, guys, when we talk about the data collection in India, there is the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, which is responsible for all these exercises. Now, it has been said that we are trying to give the competition to the countries such as China, and we are calling the manufacturing companies, but there is a severe problem that they want updated data for everything, and India is not having the capacity. Now, when we talk about, guys, the China releases the quarterly GDP data at the lag of just 3 weeks, and for the same thing India needs at least 2 months. Now, this particular thing often has many of the impacts. For example, guys, the companies, they are not able to make their long term strategies. They can not know that what are the sentiments of the market and all such kind of things. Now, guys, particularly if we talk about the job data, it is released every month into the countries such as the US and China, but in India the job data is released after 1 year, and whatever data we are having today, it is actually a very old data. So basically, the data with respect to the availability of human resource is also not there. Now, guys, in order to remove all these problems, the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation has decided that they will be initiating a $60 million program with the assistance of the World Bank, where a dedicated portal will be established which will collect the real-time information onto the critical economic data, and into the least minimum time, this particular data will be made available to the industry. Along with it, the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation has also decided to install the artificial intelligence and big data analytical tools so that all the economical data can be provided very fast. Now, guys, this particular thing will directly be improving the ease of doing business in India and will be very much good for the business sentiments. So, guys, that is all about this particular article. I hope that you have understood it, and now we will be moving to the next article. Now, guys, taking up the second article, so it pertains to the recent Corruption Perception Index 2020 report, which has been released by the Transparency International. Now, guys, this particular data becomes very much relevant whenever you are writing any answers onto the corruption, onto the maladministration, and all such kind of things. Now, what has happened? India's rank onto the Corruption Perception Index has been 86 out of 180 countries. Now, guys, the countries are ranked onto the basis of score. So, the score of 0 points that the country is extremely corrupt, and the score of 100 points that the country is extremely clean. Now, India's score has been 40. Now, by this, we can say that India is actually lying into the middle. But, guys, India's performance has not been very good when we see two factors. Number one, the 2019 report. Now, guys, here India was onto the 80 rank, and now we had moved 6 ranks lower, that is the 86th rank. Moreover, guys, here the India's score was 41, and now our score has reached 40. Moreover, guys, if we take another perspective, that is the average score of the Asia Pacific countries, so their average score is 45 and India's score of 40 is very much low. Now, guys, the top performer into this corruption perception index are the New Zealand and Denmark, and the lowest performer at the rank 179 are the Somalia and the South Sudan. Now, guys, into the corruption perception index, it has been said that the countries which were having the good or clean system, they were very much effective in dealing with the COVID-19. And at the same times, guys, conversely, it can also be said that the COVID-19 actually became a big humanitarian crisis into the countries where the corruption was very much big. So it has been said that the COVID-19 is also a corruption crisis along with the health crisis, economic crisis, humanitarian crisis. Now, guys, it has been seen that into the India, when we are talking, many a times government has taken the steps in order to remove the corruption. But, guys, India's steps have been centered onto catching the big graft. But actually, it is not the one which concerns the common man. Rather, the petty grafts, petty corruptions which happens into the municipal offices, into the day to day public utility services, they are the one which impact onto that, and onto that particular thing. Much of the things are not being done, and because of that particular thing, the perception of the Indians for the India's public system, for the public utilities, has been very much poor, and it reflects every year into the corruption perception index. Guys, please utilize all these particular data, particularly into the answers related to the GS paper number 3. So, guys, that is all about this particular article, and now we will be moving to the next article. Now, guys, this particular article has been taken from the Hindu newspaper, and it pertains to the recent boycott by the political parties onto the special address. Now, this particular article, guys, can be utilized into the answers related to the GS paper number 2 onto the topics of constitutionalism. Now, talking from the very start, guys, see, when we talk about the special address, it has been mentioned into the article number 87 of the Indian Constitution. It has been provided under article 87 that the first session after every general elections, or the first session of the every year, will be starting up with the special address which will be given by the President of India. Now, into this special address, both the houses of the parliament, that is the Rajya Sabha and the Lok Sabha, they will be sitting combinedly, and at the end of this special address, there will be the discussion of this address, which is called as the motion of thanks. Now, guys, onto this motion of thanks, the opposition parties, they can raise their contentions, they can raise their grievances, or they can simply point the inconsistencies which they found into the special address, and they can also move the amendments. Now, guys, when we are talking about special address, here actually the President of India tells the agenda that is going to be taken into the upcoming year, as well as the things that the government has done into the past year. Now, guys, when we talk about the motion of thanks, it has mandatorily to be voted or passed into the Lok Sabha. And in case if the motion of thanks it is not voted into the Lok Sabha, it leads to the defeat of the government and shows that government is not having the confidence into the house. So actually it is a very crucial exercise into the Lok Sabha. Now, guys, as the first budget session is going to be commenced, there are 18 opposition parties who had said that they will boycott the president's special address. They have said that the government has been very much undemocratic into the past few months, and for that particular thing only, they are basically basically boycotting it as a symbolic gesture. Now, guys, into this particular direction, the Minister of Parliamentary Affairs have said that the political parties, they should not boycott that address. Rather, if they are having any grievances, that particular grievance needs to be raised during the motion of the thanks, and into a democratic way they should put forward their issues. However, guys, this is the way of protest by the opposition parties, and especially they have said that they are moved by the treatment that has been given to the farmers who are protesting for more than 60 days onto the borders of the Delhi. So, guys, this is all about this particular article, and now we will be moving to the next article. Now, guys, this particular article has been taken from the Hindu newspaper, and it is giving a fresh perspective onto the regularization of the big tech into the wake of their increasing size. Now, guys, when we talk about the big tech, it is the metaphor which means the companies such as Microsoft, Apple, Facebook, Google. Now, into the European Union as well as the America, there is a kind of a contention going on that these big techs, they have become so big that they are abusing the market position, and therefore there is a need to control these big tech. Now, it has been said that this particular situation is comparable to the telecom sector hegemony of 1980s, and at that point of time USA responded into a particular way, that is by breaking one of the biggest telecom service provider, AT&T. So this is a similar kind of situation, but this thing has been questioned. It has been said that no, it is even more bigger than the telecom sector hegemony of 1980s. Why? Because, guys, number one, when we are talking about internet, it is a non-rival product. It means that if internet will be taken by one, it doesn't mean that the less of the less internet will be there for the others. For example, guys, when we talk about the telecom, they need to buy a particular band of the spectrum, and only the ones who are having this spectrum, they can give the services. Others without the spectrum cannot give service, and the spectrum can be exhausted also. Now, such kind of problem is not there with the internet. Secondly, guys, when we talk about the telecom, it was easily to be controlled because it was bound under the jurisdictional boundaries, but internet is a global phenomena, and such jurisdictional boundaries cannot be defined. Thirdly, guys, internet is a non-excludable good. What it means, see, when you talk about the telecom, only telecom services can be consumed by the ones who have taken up the telecom connection, the ones who have subscribed to particular service only. But when we are talking about the internet today, the companies such as the Google, Facebook, etc., they are not charging any fees from you, so therefore the people are not excluded. And, guys, by the virtue of all these factors, the size of the tech giants such as the Facebook, Google, it has been unfettered. Now, guys, there is one more dimension that is coming into this particular direction. See, there is a concept of the public goods. Now, public goods are the ones which have been provided by the government. Now, guys, when we talk about the internet, it is the non-rival product. It means that it is provided to everybody, and secondly, it is non-excludable. Everybody is given access to. Now, basically, these two features makes all the services that are being provided by the internet as a public good. Let's take, guys, the example. When we are talking about the law and order, it is a public good. Now everybody can resort to the services of police, services of court. Nobody is left out here, nobody is excludable, and at the same time, it never means that more and more law and order service you will take, other people will not take it. So therefore, these two hallmarks make these internet services as the public goods. Now, guys, public goods, when traditionally they are provided by the government make them available by taxing the citizens, by which the government takes the money. So for this particular thing, now the internet giants also, they carry the monetization of the data. They share your data with the third party apps. They basically show you the advertisements. And here, guys, in order to have more and more private information, in order to have more effectiveness of ad, they needs to have larger and larger user base, and therefore in turn they turn into the monopoly. Sometimes, guys, this monopolistic behavior is also bad because they are deterring the free competition. They are discouraging the entry of the new players. Either they don't give them the accessibility to their services, or simply they buy out the competition. It has basically recently been said that the Facebook, when it found that the Instagram can be rival, it bought out the Instagram. Same thing it did with the WhatsApp. So basically, they are killing the competition. No, guys, it is bad. But at the same time, if we see, then the big tech, they have been indispensable also. They have given so much of the benefits. For example, guys, let's take the example of the Google Map. Now, today, day to day commutation is not possible without the Google Map. At the same time, guys, the Facebook had provided so much of the marketability to the products. Now, these Google Maps, they are not being used by the individual customers, but they have also become as the APIs, that is the application program interfaces. Guys, today when you book an app by the Uber, into that particular cab driver's mobile phone, there are Google Map integrated, and by that thing only he is dropping you, he is picking up you. Same thing goes into the Swiggy and all such kind of things. So guys, they have developed into the APIs which are giving the utility to the people. So therefore, at the end, guys, a kind of a dichotomy is established that we need to control them, but we cannot control them into the traditional sense, because they have provided many of the beneficial products to the society also. So how to go forward? So here the one way could be is that we can give the favorable tax treatment to these big techs, and we can ask them to be into the limits. Guys, this favorable tax treatment is the recognition that they are bringing the utility to the society. Then guys, the second way is that we can put an obligation onto these big tech that they have to share the non-personal data with the governments. Now the non-personal data is one, such as the movement of the traffic, such as the weather condition and all such kind of thing. Now by this non-personal data, government can come out with the better policies. And guys, as we have seen into the last article, that the Indian government is being plagued with less data. So basically the non-personal data by these firms will be helping the government. Then guys, the third way is that we can use the power of public voice whenever these big techs, they are going into a undesirable kind of way. For example, in 2015, the Facebook said that they will be bringing up with the free basics program where the free internet will be provided. Now guys, it was assumed that the free basics of the Facebook will give a virtual monopoly to the Facebook and will essentially cut all the competition. And there were so many of the mails or so many of the public petitions that were sent that Facebook had eventually to scrap out this particular thing. So what we can do, we can make such kind of a platform into which the public voice can be raised again and again whenever these big techs are breaching their boundaries. So these could be the possible way outs into which this big tech can be controlled into the present time. So guys, this is all such kind of things you can utilize such things, and a kind of a suggestion into the GS paper number 3 as well as in GS paper number 2. So guys, that is all, and now we will be moving to the next article. Now, guys, this particular article has been taken from the Hindu newspaper, and it is talking that in India, why the other sports have not reached the heights of the cricket. Guys, basically, it is just saying that any sport, in order to reach the heights, need to be exposed, need to be given an exposure. Now, the cricket has been given exposure from so many years since the time of the Britishers. Such kind of thing happened with the chess also during the time of 1990s, when the Vishwanathan Anand, he became the grandmaster, and the world started to notice in India. So into this particular direction, guys, India needs to expose the other sports and government needs to come out. However, guys, much of the substance has not been given into the article. Much part is actually centered around the recent victory of the India into the Australia. So that is the major thing. If you want, guys, you can read this particular thing. However, still very generalistic points have been given. So guys, that is all. Now we'll move to the next article. Now, guys, this article basically is talking about the recent address that has been made by the Minister of External Affairs, Mr. S. Jaishankar, with respect to the way forward that needs to be there into the Asia and particularly into the India and China. Now, guys, much of the article is talking about the recent incursion that has been made by the China into the aftermath of COVID-19, where the incursions have been made into the Galwan Valley, into the Fingers region, and it has been said that before the 2020, actually the region was characterized by the duality of competition and cooperation, and this duality is beneficial to both. It was said that such kind of harmony has been disturbed by the China by the recent incursions, and therefore China has been into the disregard to the peace and the tranquility of a region as a whole. Further, the MEA had said that now the China needs to recognize the three variables, that is, number one, the variable of mutual mutual respect, that all the countries have equitable space, and into the mutual respect, China needs to keep in mind that there have been the agreements which have already put into the place, and they are basically guiding the relations, and in both letter and spirit these particular things are needed to be kept in mind. Then the mutual sensitivity, no country should do such kind of things which might create the doubts, which might create the kind of an uncertainty into the region. And the third is the mutual interest. It means that everybody's concerns are needed to be kept in mind. Then guys, further it has been said that the coming century is the century of the multipolar Asia, where there will be the different powers, such as one pole will be represented by India, other pole will be represented by China, and then there could be the other poles also which will be characterized by the rising powers. China should not have a kind of an impression that a unipolar Asia will be emerging out. So guys, these are all the things. It has been also provided by the Minister of External Affairs that actually the boundary has been a very tranquil region, and since 1975 no casualties had happened. But now the casualties had happened into the 2020, particularly into the Galwan Valley, where India lost their 20 soldiers and the China also lost some of the soldiers. Now this tranquility will always be disturbed if the China will be disregarding the peace and the tranquility. So China need to mind their behavior. So guys, these are all the major key takeaways that has been given into this particular direction. Moreover guys, it has also been said that the China is also deliberately taking up such kind of steps which might hamper the regional peace, just in order to teach a kind of a lesson to India. For example guys, China is not allowing the entry of the India into the nuclear supplier group. It is banning. It also wants that the Pakistan should also be given an entry. Moreover, when the India wants to move the proposal to ban some of the terrorist outfits, there also the China is not supporting. So basically it has been said that the terrorism, India's entry into the nuclear supplier group, they are the topics which are much larger than the neighborhood relations, and onto this particular thing China should not play the politics. So this is all the guys major themes which have been given. So guys, that is all about the important articles into the today's newspapers. I hope that you are able to understand all the topics and they are making the utility for you into your exam. So guys, that is all. Thank you so much.